Hey, what's up? It's Cinemania Recapped. In today's movie explanation, we are going to explain a movie in which some rich people of ancient France, in their greed, slaughter a whole cursed tribe, and this wakes up a bloodthirsty creature from the dark world to take their master's revenge. Now we will see whether they will be able to protect themselves from the cursed creature or not. In the beginning of the movie, we are shown some French soldiers fighting a fierce war with the German forces. Now we see the army medical tent, where many injured soldiers are being brought for treatment of injuries and wounds sustained during the war. The captain of the French army is also brought in here because his condition is very critical. He has been hit by many bullets. He is brought for emergency surgery. During the surgery, the surgeon sees that the captain has 3 bullets in his abdomen. The army surgeon removes all 3 bullets one by one, but then he also removes an extra bullet from the captain's stomach, which is made of silver, which points to a very evil curse because this bullet is not of German design. After this, the movie goes 35 years back in rural France. Here, we see the leader of a nomad tribe who is telling one of her tribe members to keep the silver ready because a very big storm is heading towards them, and they have to be ready for that storm. We will learn later what terrible storm the nomad woman was referring to. Now, for the protection of herself and her tribe, the leader of the gypsy tribe gets a set of dentures made by casting silver coins, which look like the fangs of a wolf. After this, the scene shifts to a mansion in which some people of the village are talking about the people of those gypsy tribe. Here we also see a greedy and ruthless leader of these people. His name is Seamus Laurent. This whole village is under this wealthy land baron. Seamus wants to usurp the land of those tribes at any cost, but the people of those tribes do not want to give their land to Seamus. So having been filled with greed and wickedness, Seamus reaches those curse-giving people with some of his mercenaries. Seamus's people attack those poor gypsies, resulting in a bloodbath. The tribesmen run for their lives. Their houses are burned and children are slaughtered, a consequence of which Seamus and his men will have to pay a very heavy price for in the future. They capture the leader of the tribe with dentures that look like wolf teeth. The defiant woman tells the captain that she will poison their sleep and call an evil power from the world of darkness, and then they will learn what death is. After this, the captain's men beat up a man from the gypsy clan very badly and make him stand like a scarecrow, which is a warning sign for the people of other gypsy clans that no man should even think of coming back to that land. The ruthless people bury the leader of the gypsy clan alive with those silver fangs, but in her last dying moments, the leader of the gypsy clan curses the entire village that an ancient evil will come, which will soon lead to complete annihilation of the village. After this, we see Seamus's daughter named Charlotte. In her nightmare, Charlotte sees the same scarecrow under which the leader of the gypsy clan was buried alive with the silver fangs. She dreams that the neck of the scarecrow turns back on its own, which frightens Charlotte. After that massacre, strange and horrific events start plaguing the whole village. Now the scene focuses on a man named John McBride, who is a pathologist by profession. John has come to take a room in this hotel. He asks the receptionist about the same gypsy people who were brutally put to death by Seamus's people, and their land was illegally occupied by them. The receptionist does not tell anything to John and asks to go away. Now a man comes to John, who is a lieutenant in the army. This man's name is Alfred, and it is Alfred who has called John to this village. After this, the scene shifts to Seamus's son Edward, who is playing outside at this time, but his attention is grabbed by the same place where the gypsy lady and the scarecrow were brutally slaughtered. Here, some unknown entity whispers in Edward's ears, due to which he starts digging the same grave in which the body of the gypsy clan leader and silver fangs are buried. Edward digs out those silver fangs and takes them out, but then, at a distance, he sees the same gypsy clan leader standing who is actually dead. This is her soul. That soul flies swiftly in the air and slowly moves towards Edward. Then we see that due to fear, Edward's eyes open and he regains consciousness, due to which we come to know that Edward had come out of his house while walking in his sleep. Edward's mother and sister take him in. Now we see a boy named Timmy, who one day while playing tells Charlotte that he knows the place where the scarecrow is and who haunts them all in their dreams. So Timmy sets off with everyone to that place. But before that, he makes everyone swear that no one will tell this to anyone. Timmy now reaches there with everyone and starts taking out the cursed box from the ground in which the cursed silver fangs are kept. Meanwhile, Edward tries to stop him, but he pushes him away. It seemed as if Timmy had been possessed by some evil entity. Timmy takes out those silver fangs and places them into his mouth. Now, we see that Timmy is now completely in the possession of some evil power, and he bites Edward on the neck, and the rest of the children start running away from there in fear. Seamus brings his son Edward from the forest in no time. Here we also see Seamus's wife, whose name is Isabel. She gets very worried for son. Now, a doctor comes to see Edward, who tells Seamus and Isabel that Edward has been bitten by a cruel wild animal, due to which an infection has spread in his body. Now we see Charlotte, who is being haunted by the same scarecrow and silver fangs in her dream, which wakes her up. Now she starts heading towards Edward's room, because some painful voices were coming from his room. When she enters Edward's room and removes his bedsheet, she sees that some tentacles are coming out of Edward's body. This scares Charlotte a lot, and she calls her parents at once. When Seamus came to Edward's room, Edward was no longer there. He had gone somewhere in the forest from where he never returned. Now the scene cuts to Charlotte, who has come to the church to pray for her brother. Here, she also meets Timmy. Timmy tells Charlotte that after putting those fangs into his mouth, he does not remember anything about what happened later. Charlotte asks Timmy where he has kept those silver fangs. On this, Timmy tells her that he has hidden those cursed silver fangs in the same church. Here, Timmy also reveals to Charlotte that they all have to suffer the consequences of the sins committed by their elders, so now everyone will die soon. Then Charlotte's maid opens the door and finds Timmy there. On being caught, Timmy runs away from there and starts going towards the forests. Then he sees Edward standing far away, who is calling him. Timmy chases Edward and goes into the maze-like forests, where the same wolf-like creature ambushes him. The ghastly creature badly injures Timmy's hand. These creatures come from the dark world, where they had been sleeping for centuries. The creature chases Timmy and reaches an abandoned sack in the forest, where it brutally kills Timmy. Now we see John, who is a pathologist, coming to Seamus's house with Lieutenant Alfred because Seamus has called them to find Edward. Now Seamus arrives and tells John and Lieutenant Alfred that the situation in the town is getting worse day by day and everyone is in great fear. Now everyone in the town has started feeling unsafe. Seamus goes back to the jungle with the lieutenant and John, where the lieutenant and John find Timmy's dead body in the same sack, which is now infested with worms. Here, the pathologist also finds a page near Timmy's decomposed body, which probably contains some important information about the devil creature. So John keeps that page with him and comes out and tells Seamus that Timmy has been killed by a wolf. Now Lieutenant Alfred tells Seamus Laurent that he has to leave now, but John stays there to help Seamus find this mystery creature. Now we see Seamus at his home with John, where Seamus tells John that when he brought his son Edward unconscious from the jungle, there were deep teeth marks on Edward's neck. And when he went to Edward's room late at night, he was not in his room, and since then, Edward has been missing. Now John starts searching the house to get more information about Edward. While searching the house, he reaches the main door, where he sees some dried drops of blood on the door, which might be of the creature. Now at night, John also sees the same scarecrow in his dream. In his dream, he digs out the same silver fangs from the ground, but then John sees his wife and daughter, who are not alive in the real world. He sees that the same scarecrow reaches his wife and daughter, and then the same gypsy clan leader scares John, due to which John opens his eyes. Now John goes near the same door on which the drops of blood of that creature are. He collects a sample of that blood and starts examining it. He sees that the blood of that creature is infecting other blood cells. Then John hears some noise, which was coming from the main door of the house. When John goes closer, he finds the same ghastly creature monster standing near the door. This frightened him a lot. Now Seamus calls all the elders of the village for an emergency meeting at his house and tells them that from now on, no one will go to their fields and everyone should keep the windows of their houses closed. Now the scene shifts to the three people of the village, which includes a girl and two men. The girl's name is Anne-Marie, and the two men's names are Jacob and Callum. Anne-Marie notices that despite her repeated calls, Jacob is not responding to her, and neither is he moving from his place, so she goes to check on Jacob. Anne-Marie goes closer and sees that the deadly creature has arrived over there and is eating Jacob. So Anne-Marie starts running away from there, but that monster attacks Anne-Marie too, but then Callum arrives there and saves Anne-Marie. But in this process, the same monster kills Callum. The girl is now infected. Now Seamus and John reach the infected girl's house to check on her, but she has already left from there, and John knows very well that Anne-Marie is now going to turn into a monster creature. So he tells Seamus that no one is safe in the village, so everyone should go and hide in the church if they want to save their lives. Now the scene cuts to the infected Anne-Marie, inside whom the process of becoming a monster has now started. Now we see John and Isabel. Isabel asks John about his wife and children. On this, John reveals to Isabel that his wife and children have been killed by the same wolf-like creature that is hunting people in this village today. He also tells Isabel that some people say that the wolf is a curse given by some people. On this, Isabel opens a secret with John that some time ago, a gypsy group used to live in her village, who claimed that most of the land of this village belonged to them. Her husband and other elders of the village, together, not only captured their entire land, but also buried them. And since then, these life-threatening incidents have started happening. And then, Seamus comes there. Seamus tells John that he needs the body of that monster creature at any cost. Now, John goes to the forest to lay a trap to catch that monster. John also goes to that scarecrow, but he sees there that someone has taken out those silver fangs from the ground. He now digs a pit for the creature, so that the creature gets trapped in that pit. Now we see that the deadly creature has arrived, and it attacks John, but John tricks the cursed creature, making it fall into the dug pit, and finally shoots it. John brings the dead body of that creature to the village for an autopsy. John starts doing the autopsy on the creature. All the people standing there see Anne-Marie coming out of the creature's stomach, who had been infected by the creature in the forest. That girl screams in anger, and then her father shoots her unwillingly on the orders of John. Seamus also understands that the same must have happened with his son too, so he requests that John not tell Isabel anything about this. John tells Seamus that the soil of his village has been cursed, and he and his people are being hunted. So he tells Seamus that the woman of that gypsy tribe has awakened the cursed beast before her death, so that they can take revenge from you. Now we see that all the people of the village are hiding in the church to save their lives. John also goes there with Charlotte. Charlotte brings the same silver fangs and gives them to John. Now the scene cuts to the maid working at Seamus's house. She has come to collect the clothes that are drying outside. At the same time, the white-skinned creature comes there and attacks her viciously. Now the maid is very badly infected, and she starts bandaging her wounds to conceal them. Meanwhile, John melts the silver fangs and makes silver bullets from them, which scare the creatures. Now we see John arguing with Seamus, where he tells Isabel that because of your husband's greed and wickedness, today the entire village is under the threat of that monster, which has come from the dark world and that has come to take revenge for his master. John also tells Seamus that you feel that you are searching for that creature, but the truth is that it is searching for you, and because of you, everyone's life is in danger today. After this, John leaves from there. Now we see Seamus listening to some crying voices from his maid's room, so Seamus takes his gun and starts moving towards the maid's room. Seamus did not know that he was slowly moving towards his death. As soon as Seamus goes into his maid's room, the maid, who has now completely transformed into a monster creature, attacks Seamus. During this, the candle falls from Seamus's hands, due to which the room catches fire. Seamus somehow shoots that creature in the head, but before that, it had infected him. Seamus knew that he too was going to turn into a monster, so he went away from his family to an empty building, chasing whom, John also reached the same building. Seamus told John that the monster was her maid. It was his maid who had completely turned into a wolf-like creature due to being infected by the monster. He tells John that he has been bitten by the creature and he does not want to turn into a monster. Saying this, Seamus sets himself on fire, which leads to his death. Now we see that the bloodthirsty creature enters Seamus's house, from which Isabel and her daughter hide in the room. Soon after, John arrives there and rescues both of them safely from there. The house, which Seamus loved so much, is now burning in flames. John takes Isabel and Charlotte to the church. Here, John tells a man that the creature is afraid of silver, and its powers increase manifold at night, so we have to wait for the day. After this, Isabel goes to Mary and starts apologizing for the sins she has committed. Then Isabel hears her son Edward's voice outside the church. Everyone is sleeping inside the church. So, in a storm of motherly love, Isabel opens the door of the church. We see that it is not Edward, but the monster, which is imitating Edward's voice. That monster enters the church and starts massacring. John is about to kill the cursed creature with silver bullets, but Isabel comes in between and starts protecting the creature because her son Edward's voice is coming from inside that creature. So to save everyone, John unwillingly fires a bullet that pierces Isabel's back and enters the body of the monster. After a while, we see that the monster was none other than Edward, who had turned into a monster after being bitten. Isabel dies after being hit by the bullet, but Edward survives. Now we are shown a flashback of the movie, where we come to know that the French captain who was brought to the army tent in the beginning of the movie, and who was very badly injured and had 3 bullets in his abdomen, and the 4th bullet that came out of his stomach, which was made of silver, was none other than the younger Edward, who had now grown up. Now the story again turns back to the past, where Edward cries a lot after seeing his mother dying. Now it is morning, and we see John, who adopts Charlotte and Edward because they had become orphaned. Now the movie comes to the present time, where we see that Charlotte has now grown up, and John has become old, and he is lying on the deathbed at this time. In the last scene of the movie, we are shown a photo in which young John is with little Charlotte and Edward, and 4 silver bullets are kept in front of them. And with this wonderful movie comes to an end.